Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do the very basic traditional granny square in one color. And for these little squares we're only going to be working 3 rounds. I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook and this little scrap ball of 4-weight acrylic yarn. I have a really specific project in mind for these, and I thought it would be a perfect time to do a quick tutorial, since I'm making a whole bunch anyway, and show you how to do this without changing colors and also without turning. So we're going to just continuously work around. So you can easily size these squares up using a larger size hook. So this is, like I said, a 4-weight yarn, so you can use probably even a 5.5 or a 6mm crochet hook if you wanted larger squares. I want these little squares, which are probably 2.5 inches across. I'm using them for a very specific project that I have in mind. Hopefully by the end of the year I will have a video on that as well. I just love granny squares. They're super fun, and even when you don't change color within the same square, if you have multiple colors and you're going to put them all together, they look just great. So to start the granny square, you're going to want to do a magic ring. If you're not comfortable doing a magic ring, you can chain 3 or 4 and then slip stitch back into that first chain, and that will create a ring as well. I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to work 2 double crochets into that ring. And that creates our first shell. The granny square, the first round, you're just creating corners, so you're making that very little square in the center. I'm going to chain 1 and do another shell, so 3 more double crochets right into that ring. And that chain 1 will be my spacer. Another corner, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets into that same space. So now I have 3 shells, 1, 2, 3, and a shell is always 3 double crochets. We need 4 total sets of shells. So I'm going to put my spacer in, I'm going to chain 1 and work 3 more double crochets. At this point you can pull that little end tail if you've done a magic ring and pull it a little tight, and you'll see it kind of forms the center there. Now to jump to this chain 2 that we did to start, we need to create that spacer again, so we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of that chain 2 that we did to start. And that will close our round. Take that tail and pull it as tight as you can. And because I've only done 1 chain in between for my corners, in between the shells, it's going to be a little bit harder to see. So what we want to do is find those little spaces, and in between the spaces you should have 3 double crochets. To start the second round, we want to slip stitch across, because we're not going to be turning, So slip stitch into the top of those 2 double crochets and then into that space, right into that space. And now you're ready to build up your second round of your granny square. To do that, we're going to chain 2. That counts as a double crochet, so we need 2 more double crochets into that space. Now because this is a corner, so this will be a corner, this next space will build out a corner. The next one around, that next chain 1 space, those are all corners. And in a corner we want to have a corner. So we want the 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets. And that will be for the corners. So here we've created a corner right here. To jump to a corner, I am not going to be chaining because I want my granny square to be tight. So I don't want a lot of spaces. So I'm literally just going to work right into that next chain 1 space. I'm going to ignore these 3 double crochets and the stitches, and I'm going to find that chain 1 space, and I'm going to do a double crochet, and that's the first double crochet of our shell. So 2 more double crochets, and because this is a corner, so we need to start working down, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to work 3 more double crochets into that same space. One, 2, and 3. So now here's where we started over here. We worked across, we built a second corner. Now we need to get down to this corner. So to skip to the corner, get to the next chain 1 space, I am just going to double crochet right into it. That's our first double crochet. We need 2 more. And that is the first half of our corner for this to get around this corner. To get around the corner, we're going to chain 1 and work 3 more double crochets into that space. And there is our third corner. So you can see how it's starting to form the square. Find your next chain 1 space and work 3 double crochets into that space. Now because it's a corner and we need to start building the second part of our corner to get down here, I'm going to chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into that same space to finish our corner. Every corner is 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Now we've already built this corner, so I'm just going to find the top of the chain 2 that I did to start, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of it to join that round. Now we've got 2 rounds of our granny square. To start round 3, I am going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches the tops of those double crochets that we did. And into that chain 1 space. Now to get up for round 3, chain 2 and put 2 double crochets into that space. And there's the first start of our round 3 corner. So you can see the corners have those little spaces in there. Chain 1 because we're doing a corner. We need to turn the corner, so chain 1 and 3 double crochets into that space that we're working out of. 1, 2, 3. Now we're working on this edge, this top edge. We need to find the next space. So skip those chain or those double crochets here. Find that space where we skipped over to the next corner. This is not a corner, but we need to work a shell to get over to that corner. So there's no chaining 1. I'm just going to put 3 double crochets right into that space to get over to the next corner. 1, 2 double crochets, and 3. And there's our middle shell to get over to this corner. Okay? So we want to find that corner space. And again, because we're not working a corner yet, we're not turning the corner, I am just going to put in 3 double crochets. And I'm not chaining before I'm jumping across. Only when I'm turning a corner am I going to be chaining 1. So we want 3 double crochets into that space. Now we're going to chain 1 to get to turn that corner and get onto this side. So chain 1, and now I'm going to work 3 more double crochets into that space. And we've turned the corner. So now we're back onto an edge. The corner is over here. You've got your 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all into that same space right here. This is just an edge. I'm not going to chain 1, and I'm just going to work a shell. So 3 double crochets right into that space. Now we're going to jump to the corner. Since it's not yet a corner, we're just going to work that top edge of the corner. I'm just going to work 3 double crochets into that chain 1 space from the previous round. So immediately go into your 3 double crochets into that space. And that is the top side of our corner. To turn the corner, we always chain 1 and 3 double crochets right back into that same space. Now we have 1, 2 sides done. Top of this side, I'm not going to chain 1. I am just going to put 3 double crochets into that space along the top. Now we're jumping over to this next corner. I'm going to work 3 double crochets into that space in between my shells. Now we're turning a corner, so I'm going to chain 1 and work the second half of my corner, so 3 double crochets into that space. Turn my corner. I just have one more space here that I need to work, so I'm going to work a shell. 3 double crochets, and now we're back where we started. I'm going to find the top of my chain 2 that I did to start the round, and I am just going to put a slip stitch into the top of that to close the round. And there we are, a 3 round, 1 color granny square. No turning, just slip stitching to get to the next space, corner space, every time you build on that foundation. Just pull your end tight there to close up that circle, that center. And there you go. Now you can keep going. You can slip stitch into those next 2 stitches, then into that chain 1 space, chain 2, and start working your corners. And in between, for every corner, you're going to chain 1 to turn that corner, and then just work double crochet shells into those top 2 side spaces. So this is my 3 round granny square. I am going to fasten off and make a whole bunch more to go with these pretty ones. Like I said, you can use any color yarn. You can do so much with granny squares. I just love them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Have a wonderful day. Happy crocheting. Bye.